Hi, my name is Ashish Khare, and I drive global business development for Amazon Comprehend at AWS. It's a pleasure to have Saumen Patel with us, who's a VP for Enterprise Architecture at Broadridge Financial. Saumen and I together will take you through how organizations are using machine learning to automatically extract data from documents. We will first look at an overview of the machine learning stack at AWS. Then we will look at the challenges with document processing today. And then Saumen will take us through how Broadridge Financial uses machine learning to process financial documents, more specifically SEC filings. At AWS, our mission is to put machine learning in the hands of every developer. And we do that by building and innovating on behalf of our customers. And we have the broadest and the deepest set of machine learning capabilities. Our intent is to take away all the undifferentiated heavy lifting that a team does when it builds machine learning applications. So at the top of the stack, we have AI services. These are pre-trained models that you can use in your applications without having the need to build machine learning skills. You can transcribe phone calls, you can convert text to speech for IVRs and applications, you can analyze videos, you can analyze text, read documents, create conversational chatbots, or personalize your web pages and do a lot more, but just using these app services as they are because they are pre-trained. You don't need to know any machine learning when you use these services. In the middle of the stack, we have Amazon SageMaker. SageMaker helps you build, train, and deploy machine learning models at scale. We have heard from data scientists consistently that it gives them 90% productivity gains by just using SageMaker. At the bottom of the stack, we have the frameworks and the infrastructure. We have Amazon Machine Images designed for deep learning so that you can choose the frameworks of your preference when building your applications, and then going down to the level of infrastructure for training and inference processes. For this conversation today, we will focus on Amazon TextRack, Amazon Comprehend, and Amazon A2I, or Augmented Artificial Intelligence. So what is the document processing use case and why is it important? So documents are things that are created by organizations every day, and they are created in billions every day. These are documents in physical format, or these are documents in electronic format. Organizations typically process these as a part of their business processes, and therefore they need to read these documents. Typically, these are read by humans. These are specialized skills, people like lawyers who need to read through legal contracts, or people who understand financial business processes so that they know exactly what information they're looking for and they can extract them. There's automation as well. However, that automation typically is around rules-based systems or based on templates of these documents. So that makes it very hard for organizations to extract information out of these documents automatically. First of all, extracting information using humans is hard. It just doesn't scale so fast, and it's time-consuming, and it's error-prone. Also, manual processes do not scale. If you have a lot of documents, you've got to have more people reading them, and therefore that's not the best approach. The rules-based engines do not work so well if a document format changes or if a new document is introduced. So therefore, the current systems that are there today do not work very well if you have newer documents being ingested, because either someone needs to get trained to read those documents, or you have to build system components that can actually cater to that format and type of information. Add to that a bit of more complexity there. Document exists in various formats. There's structured documents. These are forms, or these are documents that have key tables or key value pairs. Now, these are structured because the information exists in a defined format, and there's a marker that could be used to understand what kind of data it is. Here's an example that I'm sharing on the screen of a form or of data that comes with key value pairs. So what you need is a system that understands these key value pairs and forms, and you don't have to really build anything from scratch to read these documents. These things should come out of the box. Now there are semi-structured or unstructured documents. Now these are basically documents where information is embedded in free-flowing language. And therefore you have paragraphs, and there's a piece of information, a number that's embedded in the document. And you are trying to understand whether that's a phone number, it's a social security number, or just a quantity that you need to extract. Therefore, the solution that you're looking for needs to be context aware. It's preferably something that you want to build using natural language processing and not regular expressions. Some entities are very straightforward, so you shouldn't be building entity recognizers from scratch. And therefore, your solution needs to have pre-trained entity recognizers that you can use out of the box. The system should, however, also be flexible so that you can actually train it to extract custom entity types, like your department names or your product names. So you want the system to be flexible to be able to incorporate those entity types. And of course, when you're working with documents, you also want systems to be able to categorize and classify these documents and assign labels to them. Because ultimately, if the need is, you might forward these documents to the right person to handle these documents. So there's another part of the whole process. While you use these systems, you also need to have humans, depending on the use case, to basically help you with higher accuracy. You might have systems where the numbers are important, and therefore you might want to have a human review the final outcome that comes out of these systems. You probably have that process already. But what you need to do is elevate the conversation that you have with these humans so that these humans are not really pulling out information from documents, but they are validating what the machines are doing. Now they can actually process more documents because their work is going towards refining these systems. So you want these systems to be able to plug in people where they're required, to give you the option of working with different types of skill sets. These could be in-house employees, or these could be public or vendors. And you also want these integrations with machine learning systems to be easy. So this is where Amazon's AI services come in. Amazon Textract helps you process documents, and almost any kind of document, to extract information out of it. Amazon Comprehend is a fully trained NLP service that helps you gather insights and relationships in the text. And Amazon Augmented Artificial Intelligence, or A2I, is the service that lets you build the workflows which have humans in the loop. A number of customers have already built systems that are processing documents using these AI services. These are documents like financial documents, an example that we will cover today with Salman. We have legal documents where customers are trying to understand what are those clauses in those contracts. And there are mortgage applications as examples too. There are many other kinds of examples where customers are using document processing solutions that are built using AI services from Amazon. So today, we are going to take a look at the case where Salman has used Amazon's AI services to build document processing solutions for SEC filings. I will let him share the interesting story himself. So it's over to you, Salman. Please share with us how you've used Amazon's AI services for processing SEC filings.
Hello, my name is Salman Patel, and I'm Vice President, Enterprise Architecture at Broadridge Financial Solutions, where I get an opportunity every day to channel my energy and my passion into helping implement technology strategy, product innovation, digital transformation, and more. Today, I'm quite excited to share a story of our journey for processing SEC filings using AWS AI services. A little bit about Broadridge. Broadridge is S&P 500 global fintech company that provides investor communication solutions, technology-driven solutions, data, and analytics to our customers. Our customers include bank managers, bank and brokers, asset managers, wealth managers, corporate issuers, and institutional investors. Our platform supports millions of trades a day involving trillions of dollars, supports customer communications to over 75% of North American households. It supports shareholder voting in many countries, and it supports proxy voting services for 90% of public companies in North America. One stat out of this slide that really blows me away is 6 billion customer communications that Broadridge processes annually. So how does document processing in financial industry really work? Today, as Ashish mentioned, financial services and companies processes millions of documents across their value chain every day. They can range from simple structured documents to large, complex, unstructured documents and data. Unstructured data is growing at an alarming pace in today's world. There is a well-known paradox from John Naisbitt that comes to mind, that we are drowning in information but starving for knowledge. Data tsunami, as it is referred, has no value if organizations cannot drive actionable insights or cannot leverage for operational efficiencies. As per some estimates, there are 80% of documents in financial services that are unstructured. This data is hard to maintain and store, and it is even harder to search for key contextual information. On top of that, as Ashish walked us through, there is a human person who is extracting key information from these unstructured documents manually. To ensure high quality and compliance, there is another human that reviews the other person's work to make sure that there is high quality. Otherwise, it can lead to wrong data being extracted or missing data. This process is traditionally referred to as maker-checker process, and it is time-consuming, difficult to scale, and costly. So there are some documents on the left on the slide that I have presented, but let me focus on SEC filings. So what are SEC filings? SEC filings are important regulatory documents required of all public companies and funds to provide communications, important investor information to investors or potential investors. These filings are typically in HTML format, and they may contain various pieces of information in one physical file. This leads to higher complexity when key contextual information needs to be extracted. So let me talk to you about how Broadridge processes these SEC filings today. Broadridge has a product called Proxy Policies and Insights, or PPI. PPI is independent data and research, offers independent data and research to execute smarter governance to our institutional investors. It is also used by bank brokers, dealers, and is offered free to nonprofits, educational institutions, and regulatory authorities. It is a streamlined solution that delivers actionable insights that our clients need to satisfy SEC requirements, to perform due diligence, and conduct oversight of third-party advisory firms. Behind the scenes, we have captured over 5 million data points across 300,000 meetings that have been held over a period of 10 years. These data points include information such as names and ages and tenure of board of directors, executive compensations, and proposals, proxy proposals, to name a few. This data points, once extracted, then gets applied to our secret sauce that creates actionable insights that our clients then use to vote on certain proposals. Our 100+ operations team manually today capture these data points as raw data, and it takes them thousands of hours annually with major spikes during some months of the year. This is where we thought of an automation opportunity and see how we can automate this particular extraction of raw data. We had 3 main outcomes in mind. First was reducing the manual effort. Second was increasing of accuracy over a period of time. And third was onboarding and processing different document types. So here are some of the approaches that we considered. We considered good old regular expressions. Now, regular expressions works great when you have a pattern that matches a word or a set of words. However, it does not work when there is a lookup of fuzzy search or contextual search. Also, performance can be an issue. Second is XML parser. We use this in combination of regular expressions. And since these documents are mostly in HTML format, XML parser comes to mind using its DOM capabilities to leverage. However, the HTML layout can differ from document to document, year to year, and that basically does not work when it comes to scaling of this solution. Third is template driven. So we identified layouts and we identified the way we can create some of the templates for these layouts and their corresponding sections. However, when we increase the breadth or the volume of the documents, the accuracy did not match up to our required threshold. And so we turned to AI, and typically with any other AI initiative, we turn to open source models. We used open source models like Spacy, Scikit-learn, LNNLP, and I think these are fantastic libraries and fantastic models, but we had a couple of concerns. The first was maintainability of the models. Second was the underlying infrastructure, whether it's CPUs, TPUs, GPUs. We did not want into getting into maintenance and scaling of that infrastructure. And the third was privacy and security of our data. So this is where we went and partnered with AWS on helping us with AI services. So how did we start with AWS? Broadridge is a preferred vendor is AWS. And so we already had a strong partnership with AWS and all the ProServe team and the services team. And this is where our first step was, to reach out to them and to engage with them. We wanted to really understand how to consume AI services. This is where AWS ProServe team came in and helped us with crystallizing the ideation, planning of the journey. They helped us host multiple workshops to define the MVP, and in process, helping us determine our skill gaps as well. From a product standpoint, we defined scope, aligned on measurement of accuracy and validation of the accuracy, and created plans for skill sets and transition. From a technology standpoint, we defined goals and scope to create an extensible architecture that can onboard and process different document types through this architecture. This is where breadth, depth, and simplicity of AWS provided value to us. So what were those key architectural considerations that we did? Framework reusability. We wanted to ensure that we are able to deliver an architecture that can be leveraged by downstream documents or downstream teams. Scalability. As we onboard variety of documents along with their respective volumes, we wanted to ensure that the architecture and the infrastructure is scalable. Deployments. A completely automated provisioning of infrastructure enables faster time to market, security and governance, and machine learning operations. Capability. An end-to-end extensible and event-driven architecture enables decoupled components, resiliency, and minimal human intervention. Maintainability. We wanted to ensure that we were using native Amazon services and serverless architecture components to ensure low cost and low maintainability. And lastly, AI models maintainability. We didn't want to maintain the models and the model versions and go through that process of with A/B testing and all of that. So we preferred out-of-the-box capabilities like pre-trained models or model management and scaling of the underlying infrastructure. So how does the architecture look like? So this architecture is a completely automated, event-driven, and fully managed serverless architecture. Our use case required us to process these documents in batch mode. As I mentioned, we had structured documents and we had unstructured documents. Based on that, we created an architecture that was table-based or structured-based and text-based or unstructured data, unstructured-based. The pipelines that we created that you are seeing on the screen caters to both of these use cases. Common to these pipelines was underlying AWS components that we used, like AWS Lambda and AWS Step Functions. We used AWS Lambda for pre and post processing, along with polling of AI services to assemble the results at the end. We leveraged AWS Step Function to orchestrate our pipeline, whether it is classifying or routing the document, or whether it is allowing us to distribute the result or the processing into sub-pipelines. AWS Step Functions natively integrates into many other AWS services, which is a big plus. And it's a simple code base required as it provides all the underlying plumbing to you. As a first step, SEC filings are copied to the input bucket. Depending upon the document type, the documents are split into smaller objects and routed to either one of the pipelines. These pipelines are used both for training and for inference. Let me talk to you about Pipeline 1. Pipeline 1 leverages Amazon TextRact and is for table-based data. The document gets decomposed into small objects, and within the objects, we identify the tables. This is when the AWS Step Function orchestrates the entire pipeline and makes requests to Amazon TextRact in parallel, multiple requests to Amazon TextRact in parallel. We identify each table, and each request to Amazon TextRact processes the table, identifies the data, and extracts that in JSON format. At the end, we use Lambda to process and collect the data and put it in the output bucket. This is a relatively simple pipeline due to the nature of the data, which is structured or table-based. Amazon TextRact does not need any training, and so we just process it as a black box and get the data out. One thing to keep in mind, if there are too many parallel requests to Amazon TextRact, then you may hit the quota limit. Beyond that limit, you will need to request a quota change, as well as to make sure to manage the throttling exception. This request is a very easy request to create an Amazon support case. Let me talk to you about Pipeline 2. Pipeline 2 leverages Amazon Comprehend. It is mainly for unstructured data. Due to high variability, we grouped similar data points into its own categories and created sub-pipelines. In this particular case, sub-pipeline 1 is Amazon Comprehend based, where the document and the data goes through a content classifier first, and then it's processed to detect entities via pre-trained or custom models based on the data point category. Again, this is the same pipeline that we leverage for training and inference. We continue to have rules-based pipeline for data points where we continue to get higher accuracy. We did not change that approach since we were able to get higher accuracy for those rules-based data points. Once all the predictions for a particular document are assembled into an output bucket, an on-premise application picks it up and notifies the user to go through a human review. The human logs into the application and goes through the review of the document while approving the data or making changes to data if needed. This data is then used to a downstream application to create the actionable insights as we talked about. And the same data is used for retraining Amazon Comprehend models. This is how accuracy increases over a period of time. So overall, let me talk to you about key takeaways. 3 C's for the business stakeholders: commitment, collaboration, and consistent engagement. Commitment. It is a very critical success factor if establishing mission and vision for AI as a first step. A lot of AI projects happen as a POC and then they are on the side. But using AI as a technology, keeping that in mainstream and having the top-down leadership commitment is a critical success factor. Collaboration. Working closely with business stakeholders to identify use cases, requirements, and success criteria. And I think it is really important to zone in on success criteria. For example, if business stakeholders identify precision or recall or F1 score as a key accuracy metric, that is how they are going to be watching or observing the accuracy of this AI solution. And so it is really critical to have that collaboration, consistent engagement. AI can be a very iterative process. The solution can evolve as it gets matured over a period of time. And so consistent engagement from the stakeholders is absolutely important. Know your data, KYD. Not all data is created equal. It is critical to make sure that the discovery and the acquisition of the data is doable, and analysis done on the data to enable for feature engineering, data engineering, establishing data lineage, and more. Data quality. How good is my data? Can it be used as ground truth for my training data as is? Does it have bias? And how much is the bias? Does it cover the breadth of my use cases? All of those questions need to be answered and kept an eye on throughout the project. ML architecture. It is absolutely critical to define the accuracy metric of the AI models. Is it precision? Is it recall? F1 score? Is it something custom, like a weighted score? What is my operational SLA? Is it in minutes, hours, days? Is it real time or batch? All of these solutions will help you drive to an architecture that enables you to be effective and enables it to be extensible. KYC, and in this case, I mean know your cost. Whether it is Amazon Comprehend or Amazon Textract, when there are millions of pages, and depending upon number of models and other factors, the cost can bring your business case down. So it's absolutely critical to monitor your cost. And lastly, MLOps, or machine learning operations. MLOps enables the operationalization of end-to-end pipeline that supports continuous delivery and continuous integration of models in a production environment. So orchestrating the human review process and improving the model accuracy. Automating the architecture, including the management of the models and versioning of the models and the governance around it. All of those are critical components to be thought about from an architecture standpoint. And lastly, the model performance. Define the factors that measures the model performance and the resiliency of it. I just took you through processing of SEC filings via intelligent document processing use case at Broadridge. I believe it will be useful for everyone who are trying to deliver this use case or a similar use case. I would like to thank a lot to AWS Professional Services team and AWS AI Services team for their help on this use case. Back to you, Ashish.
It's been a pleasure working with your team on building this interesting use case. I hope you all found this session useful. Now, before you go, I would like to touch upon a few things that you can get started on right away. To learn more about how Amazon Textract and Amazon Comprehend can actually help you, you can run a quick POC using the Document Understanding solution, a template that you can spin up in your accounts and start using right away. The link to the Document Understanding solution is pasted on the screen right now. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to your account teams and they will be ready to connect you to us. If you have any questions, please use the link to connect with us on the top of the page for the Document Understanding solution. You came to learn, and therefore you can continue that process. The AWS training and certification team publishes a good amount of content for you to learn and use. There are 65 plus free digital learning courses that we publish that you can use to build your skills and credibility on machine learning. And when you are ready, you can get yourself certified through AWS Certified Machine Learning Specialty. Feel free to go to the AWS Ramp-Up Guide and other content on the page shown and to learn more. I hope this was useful. Please feel free to give us feedback. Here's the link to reach out to the session survey and leave us your feedback. Thank you very much.